I think the other thing that would get brought up, and this will come up so often, is when talking about the perpetual virginity of Mary, you're going to always hear, okay, well, who on earth were the children? So we're on for people that tune in, we're on the very same page. Catholics and Orthodox, we're going to say, hey, these were not children of St. Mary. But then there is a bit of a divide. And of course, this does not affect the doctrine, the dogma of Mary as perpetual virgin. This is a healthy difference, perhaps, or a healthy kind of speculation. And you'll find some Catholics that will say, well, Father, they were cousins of Holy Mary. They were cousins of Christ. No relation to Mary, or they were just simply cousins, those brothers and sisters. And then our Eastern Orthodox brothers and sisters, as you very well know, Father, well, then some will say, no, they were children of St. Joseph from a previous marriage. And from that, you clearly have very ancient testimony in the Proto-Evangelium of James from the 100s. I'd like to ask you your thoughts, Father. Are you dogmatic moralist in this? Do you have any speculation? What are your thoughts on who the brothers and sisters were?
Right. We don't have any dogmatic opinion on the matter. I generally, the general consensus or the liturgical consensus is that they were the children of Joseph from a previous marriage rather than cousins. But both are acceptable in a sense, as long as they're not her own children.
Yeah.
But the general, as you already pointed out, the general trend is that they are Joseph's. Now, one thing that Orthodoxy does in this sort of regard to Joseph differ from modern, at least Roman Catholic imagery, is that Joseph in Orthodoxy is an old man.
Sure.
His children were sort of already sort of growing up in a sense. So the idea of him sleeping with Mary, or being a young, handsome man, they just sort of see this modern imagery, and it's just like, that's not the Orthodox sense. No, he's an old man who was chosen because he was holy and he wasn't going to touch her and cause her any problems. He was there just simply to legally look after her. And we know this because Mary says, how am I going to be a child if I'm not going to know a man? And she's already engaged to meet someone who's not betrothed. Like, of course, no, it's because she was never going to be sleeping with a man. So that's where the difference is. But we do tend to push towards and one of the advantages of the position of its children of Joseph, there is a more natural sense that the Mother of God is a stepmother of those children, and she's more truly their mother in a sense. If his previous wife had died, she sort of becomes their mother as a stepmother does. Whereas for cousins, it's harder to sort of see how that relationship or mother sort of applies to them. So I think that's my tendency towards the children of Joseph. It has a little bit more natural sense. You can call her mother of them a little more naturally than for cousins. But we do affirm that they're certainly not her children by birth.
Very, very good points. Fantastic points there. Particularly really appreciated your point in Luke 1, where I agree with you. In my opinion, it's very indicative of the fact that Holy Mary has been vowed to a life of perpetual virginity. Look, she's betrothed to St. Joseph. She knows how babies come about. Mary knows that it is a sexual act, yet she's clearly shows incredulity at the fact that she's going to have a child. She was very clearly vowed to a life of virginity. I totally agree with you there, Father. I think that now when it comes to Joseph, I do want to be fair. Within Catholicism, we've got a number of great scholars that will say they'll try to make a very good case, and I'm not going to take any position today. They'll try to make a very good case that they believe Joseph was very young. But then we've got the other side that will make a very good case that they believe he was older, because of particular language used for him. He's called a just man. They say a very good case is made that, that kind of language would not be used for a young man, but rather a man that has lived a life of righteousness and thus is viewed just in the eyes of God. So it's very interesting. Number of speculating, and I think ultimately the conclusion we come to, Father, is the most important one. The fact that speculate all you want, but you're in heresy if you're going to try and say, well, those children were Mary's. They clearly were not, according to the way the Bible lays out their identities, particularly in Mark chapter 6. And then you look in the early church, you're not going to run into an Irenaeus. You're not going to run into an Ambrose, an Augustine, a John Chrysostomos, a John Damascene, talking about them or speculating about them being children of Mary. It's just not going to happen. In fact, that does lead me to my next point, my next question, point and question, that being that when we finally encounter a kind of widespread denial of Mary as perpetual virgin, you've got the great saints Jerome and Ambrose clearly standing up and defending Mary as perpetual virgin against the heresies of Helvidius and Bishop Bonosus. And we know through history that Helvidius and Bonosus were Arians. So the very first widespread denial of Mary as perpetual virgin comes from Arianism.